Let's do this thing. Hi, I'm Bailey and welcome to my channel. So, I'm having one of those days. You know those days. You know those days when everything just feels like a drag. So, I decided I'd do a book tag. So, let's get into it. The book cake tag, which I'm lactose intolerant, so I'm not a big fan of cake. But book cake I can get behind. Let's do this. Okie dokie. Actually, I kind of want cake now. Ingredients. Flour. A book that was slow in the beginning, but then really picked up. Got one just for this. For this one, I'm going to go with The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This book was painfully slow in the beginning. Like, until past halfway, there was basically no action. But then once you got to that point where the action started picking up and the actual, like, plot started happening, it was good, you know? Just had to wait through a lot of that, like, character building and just random shenanigan to get to that good old action. So, The Cruel Prince. That's it. Let's go. Butter or margarine. A book that has a really good, rich plot. Fun. I like how it said butter or margarine, so it's like, just in case, like, do your thing. For this one, I went with Renegades by Marissa Meyer. This book, for me, Arch Enemies, like, came out, I think, like, last month. But anyway, Renegades for me was just such a good book. Like, I don't usually reach for that superhero genre. It's not typically my jazz. Like, if I'm going to the bookstore, I'm typically going to fantasy or contemporary. So, like, it's kind of like on the side. Like, I enjoy sipping some superhero story tea, but not all the time. But this book was so good. It was such a good balance of, like, superheroes, but also, like, having strong values really played a part in it. And, like, I love the characters, and I love this book, and I love this story, and I love Marissa Meyer. This plot was so good, and I'm excited to read Arch Enemies. I have it on my shelf, but just haven't gotten to it, because I'm not in the mood to read. This book is about Nova, and basically she is living in this world where there are anarchists, and there are renegades, and then there's normal people. She is an anarchist, and she is basically going against the government.
Hi, so as per usual, I forgot to, like, mention things. That's a light that needs to, like, stop sign. I'll just, like, leave. So, basically, I forgot to mention that in this book they all have, like, superpowers. So most people have superpowers. Like, I mentioned briefly that Adrian does, but I didn't really mention that, like, people in this world have magic. There's magic and, like, powers and jazz like that, so, like, there you go.
Which is the Renegades. And she ends up infiltrating the Renegades, becoming a renegade, and being, like, an inside spy inside the Renegades. And that's where she meets Adrian, who's the other POV of this book. And he is basically a renegade who has a pretty, like, downplayed, I don't know. His power is to draw things and they can, like, come out of the page, or he can draw and make things, like, come alive and whatever. And so he uses that power, but he also uses the Sentinel, because he keeps drawing these tattoos on his body to give himself more powers to be stronger, basically. So they meet, and they're on the same team together, and it basically just stems from that, and how their relationship progresses, and how Nova is struggling with being an anarchist, but also having to pose as a renegade, and how her values are being tested. So, Renegades. Nice plot, loved her. I did not give a explanation for The Cruel Prince. You know what? It's okay. We're good. Eggs. A book you thought you weren't going to like, but ended up loving. That's some tea right there. Let me think. I have a book that's like the opposite. I mean, I wouldn't say love for this one, but I don't really have another option. I'm gonna go with The Selection by Kiera Cass. For this book, I expected to hate it with a burning passion. I didn't hate it, I did not love it, like the thing wants me to say, but it was entertaining, and I fell in love with Maxon, so, like, I can't not like the book now, because Maxon's in it. But yeah, that's this. This book follows America Singer, who is living in this futuristic society, like our society, but in the future, in which there's a caste system and all that jazz, and there's a selection to marry the prince, where 35 girls all compete to win his hand. And so, spoiler alert, she's in there. That's not really a spoiler, but like, she gets into the selection. It just follows her in the selection and her interacting with Max and all these other girls and kind of figuring out whether or not she wants to actually like compete in this competition. America Singer. That's it. America Singer in the selection. Sweet. Since when is that an ingredient in anything? Sweet. A super sweet book. I'm gonna go with a relatively recent read of mine, which is Almost Midnight by Rainbow Rowell. This book was adorable, and I read it within an afternoon. It's 2 short stories, both written by Rainbow Rowell. It's like teeny weeny bobini. It's just tiny. And they really just, like, put me in a good mood, you know? Like, after a long day of school and that, all that, just coming home and reading these was really nice, and they're just super sweet. And the relationships that's kind of building up, because they're both like romantic short stories. And they were pretty festive as well, which was very nice for this season. But they were super nice, and I loved the relationships that they were trying to build in such a short amount of pages. So I really like this book. I'm not going to give you a synopsis of the 2 stories because I'm lazy, or maybe I will. You know, I'll be a good person. The first story is Midnights, which follows Noelle and Mags, who basically follows every New Year's party they're at, which is the same party, and then just kind of like progressing their relationship every single year and seeing how they change and how they interact every single year, and it's very cute. Also, Noelle has like a bunch of allergies. Love him. Relate. And then Kindred Spirits is about Elena, who is a Star Wars fan, who is going to sit outside a movie theater to wait for a movie, like, you know, lining, like where people line up outside and then like in a line. I don't know. She's doing that, and she meets Gabe, and then it's kind of just how they're interacting over these days that they're waiting in line, which is like a week or something, or like 4 days, or like he was there for a week and she's okay. Anyway, they're lining up, and it's a great time. We love it. We love some romance. We love some short stories. Yeah. Sorry if I'm sniffly, because like I'm sniffly, so it might happen. Icing. No, it turned. Dang it. Icing. A book that covers everything you enjoy in a book. Sad, funny, action, etc. Book that covers everything? Is there a book that covers everything? A book, I don't know what my favorite book is. Am I having an identity crisis? I feel like for this one, I'm gonna go with Leon the Offbeat by Becky Albert Holly. This one, it covers everything I love, because one, it has representation, LGBT representation to be specific, and then this diverse cast, which I really appreciated in this book. It was funny at times, it was very emotional at times, and I absolutely adored it. After I read Simon Versus, I thought that nothing could ever top that book for me. Leon the Offbeat did. It was so good. And Simon Versus and Leon the Offbeat are some of my favorite books ever, so love them. Leon the Offbeat is the sequel to Simon Versus the oh my gosh. Leon the Offbeat is the sequel to Simon Versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda, and this one follows Leah, who is bisexual, and it really is her kind of coming into her own shell, and like a coming-of-age story in a sense, where she is trying to see how she can be more comfortable as herself, and being more comfortable with her body image and her sexuality, and also with, I think her name's Abby. I'm really, Abby. Yeah, Abby. And then it's also following her building a relationship with Abby, who is another character in Simon Versus in this one. And I had a really good time reading this book. I think I read it in like 2 days, so I really enjoyed it. And I really recommend Simon Versus and Leon the Offbeat. So these 2 books have like everything I ever want in a book. So read it, enjoy it, have a good time. Also, side note, the Love Simon movie I enjoyed was not the same as the book, but like I enjoyed. I hope they make a movie for Leon the Offbeat. It probably won't do it justice, but like I want to see a movie of it still, so give me that. Sprinkles. A book that you can turn to make you feel better. Oh, that's a hard one. Not really. For this one, I'm going to go with The Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. Out of all of her books, this one will probably always reign supreme as my favorite one of her books, closely followed by Empire of Storms because Alene and Lorcan are my OTP and you can't fight me anyway. But this book is the sequel to A Court of Thorns and Roses, which is the first book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. And this book, there's such emotional, like, background and so many memories that just kind of go along with me reading this book and this series. And, like, I'm not going to get into it because I don't think anybody wants to hear that. But, this book, I remember being one of those books that I read in a single day. And this is a hefty sucker. But I read it in one day, did not sleep, because I was just so invested in the story, and it was the first book that I think that, like, really had me, like, feeling emotions for characters outside of the book, like, crying and laughing out loud with them, and I really appreciated that. That was a really good experience for me, and I really love this book, and every time I'm feeling down, I just have so many scenes in this book that I can turn to just make me feel so much better, and I just love this book so much. I'm gonna get teary-eyed. No, I'm not, but, like, I could. But yeah, I'm going to go with A Court of Mist and Fury. I can't really give a synopsis for it because it's a sequel, but I would suggest going and reading the first book. I would like to give a warning. It's shelved as young adult, but it's, in my opinion, new adult because there are explicit sexual scenes in these books, so be warned by that. Other than that, love it. Go read them. Yay. Sorry if I'm, like, lame today. Maybe I'll try and be, like, energetic for this last one. I think this is the last one. Cherry on top! The best book you've read so far this year. This year? What's the best book I've read? I know the worst book I read this year. That's some tea, though. For this one, I'm gonna go with Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. This book I read, I think I mentioned because Paperback Dreams, aka Kat, here on BookTube, raves about it all the time, so I picked it up and I absolutely loved it. The characters were just, I related to them too much, and it made me feel too much. Like, it was just too good. The diversity, the representation is amazing in this book. I highly recommend it. It follows Frances, and she is a really big fan of this podcast called Universe City, and she makes fan art for it, and then the creator, Radio Silence, of the podcast, reaches out to her to make fan art for the podcast, and she finds out that the Radio Silence, the creator of the show, is actually her neighbor, Ellen, and basically it follows how they become friends and how they kind of struggle with their own inner demons and stuff, and they kind of deal with them together. And I like how, and this is something I don't see a lot, is that the main characters, like Frances and Ellen, do not get together. Like, and that's not a spoiler because she says it right off the bat, but like, they're just friends. They stay friends the whole time, and I appreciated that we don't have to, like, make them come together and be dating just because they're main characters. Like, they don't have to be love interests, and that made me very happy, and I love this book so much. I love the characters. I love the story. I highly recommend it. I love her. If I do make, like, a best and worst books of 2018 video, which I'm not sure if I will, you'll definitely see Sis on there, so Radio Silence. So that was the book tag. It was a book tag. I hope you enjoyed. I had a great time filming this. Really brought my mood up a bit because today has been kind of weird. I put up my Christmas tree though, so I mean, like, festivity. Let's do this. Anyway, my Twitter, Goodreads Twitter will be here. Read by Fire on Twitter. At Fire Breathing Reader on Goodreads. Follow me if you want. Subscribe for more of this bright personality if you'd like to. Hope you have a great day, night, or whatever time you're watching this. Later. I've been Bailey. I don't know why, but, like, the name of this book tag, well, no, I do know why, because it has cake in the title, but the name of the book tag, like, book cake, is reminding me of, like, Melanie Martinez Cake song. Like, not a piece of cake for you to just discover where you walk away with a frozen on my heart. Yeah, that song. Just me? I feel like it's just me. But, like, hope you appreciated that. That's good enough of a thumbnail, right?